Hello and welcome to Be Emboldened's live stream on the Living Out Freedom Conference today. I am joined by Naomi Wright, founder and executive director. I'm Natasha Fish, board chair of Be Emboldened. And we're so excited to get to share with you all about our Living Out Freedom Conference. You are going to get to find out all the information you need to know, as well as some really fun surprises, some things that we're really excited about that's going to be really unique and special, as well as a discount code at the end of this. If you stick around, you'll get to find out how you can get the right price for the right tickets and get some discount off. So, which is always a fun thing to do. So, Naomi, so glad to have you here and get to talk about this today.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. This has been big. This has been
Long time coming.
behind. Yeah, I mean, even I'm going to probably segue in a minute when we get into like why we're doing this, but even this year, I mean, I think I signed the contract on the event space. Was it like February or March? I mean, it was a long time ago. So even behind the scenes, I've been working on this for most of this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be really special. This is the first in-person conference that BE has hosted, and it's 4 years into our organization's lifespan to get to this point, to get to have booked a place that we're going to gather together in person with this group of people for this audience is just incredible. It's really exciting. So we're excited that you're here and grateful that you're watching, and we want to share everything you need to know. So let's start with the why. I mean, we're not just doing this because we're bored. There's a real purpose to why this conference, why now, and where did this vision come from, Naomi?
Oh, well, the way you phrase that, okay, y'all bear with me. I'm going to jump like way back to 2013 really quick. That is not where the vision for this came from. However, Natasha, you're probably going to remember this. And I have the most incredible conversations with people who are a part of our BE Plus month-to-month subscription, where we get to virtually gather, and people that I have the privilege of having as mentees for our mentoring program. And I was having a conversation with someone earlier this week, and they brought up something along the lines of like, wow, it is so good that certain things that I wanted to do, I didn't do when I wanted to do them, because come to find out, like I was in a cult, or I was this, or I was, like my theology was a hot mess, or whatever it may be. And I was thinking back to 2013 when I wanted to put together retreats. Do you remember this?
I do. I do.
Yeah. And so Natasha and I go back, well, actually just to 2013. So it's like back at the beginning of us. But yeah, I wanted to host gatherings, and it was particularly, I think it was more specifically like women at that time with what I was wanting to do. And I always loved like kind of gathering up really awesome people from all over the place and like bringing them all together, and they all got along and it was great. And some of my friends that met through me are still friends, even though I don't live there. And so I've just always enjoyed that. And so I wanted to do something like this, and I mean, it didn't make sense at the time. There wasn't an opportunity. I didn't know yet that I had been raised in a cult. I didn't know that till February 2014. And so I was reflecting on that during this conversation internally. I was thinking about, oh my goodness, like I had totally forgotten about that memory. But it's just kind of crazy that 11 years later, I'm like, oh, okay. So this is now kind of in front of me as an opportunity of something to do. And I think we've got really, really good reason to do it. It's not just fulfilling something that I had on my mind 11 years ago because I forgot about it. But yeah, this kind of goes back a long way, like the desire to provide opportunities for people to gather in person, and to do that when I'm thinking now, bringing it into this context, to do it in an environment that is informed on spiritual abuse, is informed on the big questions that we have, is trauma informed because we have experienced trauma, and being able to bring all of that together. So that's my first part, to answer that question is I think it's something that's just been kind of in there for me for a really long time, and now it makes sense, even though it looks totally different than what I would have done in 2013. It definitely wouldn't have had anything to do with spiritual abuse.
That's what's so beautiful about this. Not only is it a long time coming, and to see the fulfillment of that desire that was part of who you were so long ago, but to be able to offer something so unique that has not been done before, that is really special, that is informed. And so, for those of you out there who might be getting a little, maybe you're feeling like you're going to crawl out of your skin thinking about gathering with people together and being in that space where there's a bunch of people, whether it's personality or just experiences you've had at conferences or gatherings that are unhelpful. We've been there. We've been to conferences that we know we did not love, and so we're bringing that perspective into it as well, which is really great, to get to really make a conference for people who maybe don't love conferences or don't love that. Yeah. So Naomi, I know you love
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, so I hated conferences, I hated retreats, and here's why.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had a lot going on, but here's also why. So I didn't have the freedom to just do what I needed to do because it was so agenda focused, and the environment was one of like, make sure you do all the things and you show up to all this stuff. And if you don't, you're missing out. And so it could feel really high pressured. And like in some way, I wasn't meeting expectation, which I mean, I'd had plenty of that. And so that's not the dynamic of this. Like, we're hoping that you enjoy what the offerings are, and you're welcome to be a part of what you want to be a part of. And that's part of what I love about the venue is it's really conducive. It's really friendly to I'm popping into this, but like I need to then go for a walk, or like I need to get a snack, or I need to do this, or like it's flexible for what you need. And again, we'll get into more about venue here in a little bit as well. But the venue was intentional too, based on some of what I struggled with when I would go to stuff like this. We're also going to go over a lot of the FAQs that we have on the website about like Christian music and corporate prayer and all those kinds of things. So like all of that has been thought through and how we're going to offer this conference to people. So again, please stay tuned. A lot of this is going to be on our website as well. So like, don't have to worry about remembering everything. You go back there and double check, reach out to us if there's something that isn't posted that we didn't think of in advance. Happy to get you an answer. But we're wanting this to really be flexible and be what you need it to be, and recognize that something might hit hard and you might just need to go take a nap for 2 hours, and you're going to be able to do that really easily, which is great, again, based on the venue choice that we made. So yeah, I think backing up, Natasha, to part of, I think the bigger question you asked about, like, it was why, right? Like, why are we creating this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is this, why now too? I mean, why, yeah, why are you seeing this need for us to gather in this
Mhm.
way?
Sure. So there is more conversation happening around the topic of spiritual abuse. And when I say spiritual abuse, I'm not talking specifically cult abuse. I know that that's a big chunk of my background. I from there went on and had a buffet of spiritual abuse experiences, from in an organization to in a church to, so between my husband and I, we've kind of run the gamut, so to speak. So this is reflective of whatever background someone has, and we'll talk more about who it's for. It's not just for people who are survivors either. It's for others too, and we're intentional with that in the topics and how we'll present that information. But there's more coming out. There is more being offered, and I am so glad to see that. There are other conferences that exist right now, and I've gone to them, and I appreciate them. I appreciate the work and all that people are putting into these events. Something that I have noticed that I see as a gap in what's currently being offered, and that's not anything bad about what's being offered, because if they weren't offering what they're offering, then there would be those gaps. And so, but something
Mhm.
that I see as a gap right now is the combination of all of the areas. So for example, conferences that I've attended, they're heavily focused on like bringing in the counselors, bringing in the psychologists, bringing in more of those kinds of conversations where we're talking about what spiritual abuse is, of course, and then we're talking about like the trauma aspect and that healing aspect, and maybe some red flag stuff and things like that. I'm wanting to answer more of the biblical and theological studies, the Christian faith, the apologetics. I'm wanting to talk about some of that too and really bring it together. And that's really what Be Emboldened is founded on, is we've experienced spiritual abuse. We need to know more about like what's happening in our bodies, what happens when we experience trauma. Why can't I open my Bible without coming out of my skin? Why can't I hear that passage? Why can't I hear that song? Why can't I pray? why can't I gather? Like, why can't I do this stuff? You know, like it's really like I literally can't. Sometimes it's not just preference. It's like, like my body really responds strongly. And so we're needing to understand those things, and we're needing to know about grief, and we're needing to know about all of these healing topics, boundaries and triggers, and all these really important things that are in the foundational course that we put out at Be Emboldened. It's called Rebuilding After Religious Abuse. And that's a foundational thing for us that we will never get away from. It always has to be a central part of the conversation. Alongside that, we're wanting to talk about the questions that we now have about the faith. And that's whether you identify with Christianity right now or not, whether you are saying you are Christian or you are not. This is not an exclusive Christian event. Now, it is coming from a Christian worldview. We want to be very upfront about that. I think that's really important for us to be transparent. But this isn't telling everybody what they have to do. We respect your sense of agency to make your decisions, to make your choices. We are wanting people to get the information, though, so that they can decide in an environment that understands that it's not a clean slate. And so with that, I'm actually going to read a part of what I wrote for the website. I hope everyone doesn't mind, but I want to make sure I capture this well. And I think I did the best that I can do with what I wrote on the website. So I want to read this piece to you. We have experienced trauma, and we need to talk about how that affects our bodies, our lives, and our relationships. We also need to talk about the big questions we tend to have about God and the Christian faith. These practical and important questions typically are not being asked from the place of a clean slate. Instead, that slate has oftentimes been shattered, and we find ourselves staring at the shards in our skin, wondering how to move in any direction without bleeding out. So we want to talk about both. We want to provide a place to engage with these questions coming from an educated lens on spiritual abuse, because spiritual abuse changes these questions. They may sound like the same questions as maybe a new Christian or an atheist seeker, but they're not. These questions are loaded now. They're pain-filled, and they matter in a new way, a deep way, sometimes a desperate way. The Living Out Freedom Conference is for these questions posed from this background. So whether you're a survivor yourself, you love someone who has suffered, or you're a leader desiring to come alongside others, or you want to prevent spiritual abuse, that's something we very much care about here. This event has been designed for you. And so I sometimes hear spiritual abuse isn't an apologetics issue. Spiritual abuse isn't a biblical studies issue. It's not a theological studies issue. It actually is. I wholeheartedly, firmly disagree with that. Happy to have a conversation about why. I won't do that right now, but happy to have a conversation about why with anyone who's kind of wondering, like, how do those things really come together? They do. And so we're wanting to bring all of that together again in a trauma-informed environment for people to be able to come and be able to leave feeling seen, heard, understood, and strengthened. Like they're walking out and they're like, okay, I'm going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Excellent. Well, it's great to hear the vision and where this comes from. So let's talk about exactly what it is that we're going to be putting on. First of all, it's next September 2025, September 12th and 13th. And it's going to be, hopefully I pronounced this right, the Sevierville Convention Center in Tennessee.
No, I was corrected. No, I was corrected at, they didn't even correct me. Because I hadn't said it. I heard someone else say it when I was in Tennessee for a conference back in September. It's Sevierville.
Sevierville.
Which is a horrible name. If I may say so, please forgive me, Sevierville residents, but Sevierville?
Sevierville.
So that's not how I was saying it, but that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry.
And now you'll remember it, Sevierville. Yeah. So Tennessee in the beautiful Smoky Mountains, this conference center is just going to be an excellent location for it. And I'm just, really, really thrilled that we get to offer a beautiful space. I think that is something that's also been part of Be Emboldened's journey in history, is recognizing how much beauty matters and how that can be such a lifeline for people who've experienced spiritual abuse, and how that's part of Naomi's story too. So we want to give people a beautiful, lovely experience. So Naomi, we'd love to hear more. Like, what are the amenities? What are you excited about? The kind of treats or special experiences, and then maybe too also what to expect. You talked a little bit about how you're going to have the freedom to do what you need to do, but what is the flow? What is the structure? What are people signing up for when what should they expect?
Sure. So I'll start with that, and then I'll back up to the location, and we'll talk about the location. So the conference, it's Friday and Saturday, and it starts Friday afternoon. My hope for that is that people can travel Friday morning if they need to. and take less days off of work. That was my goal with that decision. So it starts Friday afternoon and it wraps up Saturday at 4:30 is the plan. A little bit tentative with exactly what the schedule will be, so that might flex like a half an hour or so, but that's pretty much going to be our start and our end anyway. And so the hope is come in for one night if you want, if you're needing to get in and get out. But also, again, we'll talk more about the location. You might want to add on and just like enjoy the location for a day or two. I love the idea of this being an opportunity for families to make a getaway out of it, because it can be hard to travel for a conference if you're like, gosh, I have a family, or I'm traveling even with friends or whatever that looks like. But we go in for the conference. I know, Natasha, you and I have done that before. And you just do the whole conference and then you have to leave. And it's like, maybe some time for processing after, some time to like do something fun, all together after, and like being able to make it more of a thing on your calendar. And so again, location came into play for that. And the Friday afternoon and Saturday also came into play for that. So the conference is going to be set up pretty standard as far as like presenters at the top of the hour talking about different topics, but we're going to have a lot of opportunity. I mean, you'll hear me talk about this, and when I welcome everyone, like, get up and move if you need to. We're going to have weighted blankets. We're going to have a fill your own support toolkit with various items for your five senses that you can use throughout. I'm working with the venue to see if we can have some rocking chairs along the back for some motion. I know I love a good rocking chair. Again, it's beautiful scenery right outside. It's right by the entrance of the Smoky Mountains. So you're getting the trees and you're getting the foliage, and the actual venue, like the conference centers, it's absolutely beautiful. So you can go for a walk outside if you need to, whatever that looks like. So I want people to know they have you have the freedom to like get up and move about and miss something if you need to, or walk in a bit late or excuse yourself or whatever. You can have snacks in there. You can have your beverage in there. So yeah, it's not going to be like, okay, everybody sit down and like be super formal. And in fact, depending on the capacity, we might be able to have instead of I've also talked to them about, we're not going to be able to do full capacity because people are not going to be in one another's purple circles. I don't know if anyone's heard that term. It's something I learned back when I was 18 and I was working in a facility. But it's like, okay, like I would like to be able to like move my elbows a little bit, and yeah. And so we're not going to have chairs like right on top of each other, give you guys a little bit more space. And so some of those more kind of attuned aspects, like we want to make sure everybody knows and everyone is comfortable, as we can make it. And so the presenters, we'll talk about those in a minute as well. Like, they're incredible. I'm like just we'll circle back to that because I'm going to rabbit trail to too many places.
Yeah.
And I won't answer your questions. So that's the general setup. We also do have on Friday night, we have it's as an add-on, because the way it works with the venue, it's like a whole separate contract that we have to do. Like, it's a whole separate thing. And it's going to be a dinner. I don't know for sure what the menu is yet. So if you have thoughts on that and you're like, no, I'm definitely doing the dinner, I haven't committed to a menu yet. So let me know if you have a certain kind of food that you like. So that is a max. They can only fit 60 people. So that will be capped at 60 people. So if anyone's interested in the dinner, I would recommend going ahead and adding that on now and purchasing that ticket. So Dulce and Derek Johnson are going to be our special guests for that dinner. If you're not familiar with them, check out The Honest Messy Life on Instagram or TikTok and Facebook as well. I love the work that they're doing. They both came out of a high control background. And they're very open about it. And they are truly just such lovely people, like high character, wonderful human beings. And so they're going to be there. We have some other special things in the works for that dinner that I'm excited about. I'm not going to talk about it now because I have to get like the final before I release it. But some stuff that I'm really, really looking forward to, in line with us appreciating beauty and appreciating the arts and artistic expression. For those of us who are healing. And that's something that I'm really desiring to incorporate into this event as well, as opportunities for people to share their artistic expression of what the healing journey has looked like for them. So that'll be a piece as well in the event. So did I answer everything you were thinking for that? Did I miss anything?
Oh, that's great. And I do want to point people to, there's a QR code in the upper left-hand screen. You can go to the website that has all this information on it. There's even like a tentative link, like when sessions are happening. and that dinner, and you get to see Dulce and Derek, and we'll hear a little bit about them as well in a little on that webpage too. So definitely be sure to check that out. But yeah, I think just wanting to highlight too, you had mentioned it when you read your snippet from the website of just like who is this for? I'd love to kind of make sure we highlight that of like if you're listening to this and you're trying to decide, is this for me? Is this for someone I know? I'd love to go through those 4 different kind of types of people that this is really for.
Yeah. Okay. So, of course, it's for survivors. Of course, it is for people who have suffered and who are suffering. And that can be someone who is 1 foot in, 1 foot out of a situation, just navigating like, how do I even, I'm not sure, I'm going to take some losses, or I'm just not even sure, is this like what I call this? So, someone who's really trying to like gather and understand, someone who has been out for 30 years and is like, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we don't really forget it. And I think as we get older, it seems like every decade, as we grow and as we change, our perspective changes a bit. We tend to reflect, and we may reflect, and different things may stick out to us than did before. Things may hit a bit differently than they did before. And so we may find ourselves looking back and processing through some things again. And so that could be you. So this is not like as someone who has just left. It can be any stage. It's also for those who have a loved one who is either post the spiritual abuse experience is in the healing and rebuilding aspect of their journey, or for someone who has a loved one who is currently involved in something, and they are trying to companion alongside through what is an incredibly nuanced, difficult situation, because it is. So it's also for you. It is also for professionals, whether it be church leadership, parachurch leadership, counselors, whether it's counselor, therapist, LBC, like whatever the licensure would be, coaches who are wanting to come alongside. I think while the conversation isn't going to be directly aimed for you, like some things we have coming in 2025, so stay tuned, it is going to indirectly give you a really good idea of what people are wrestling with. You're going to learn a lot by hearing what we're saying, and what other people are saying, and the questions that are being asked and the questions that we're addressing. So I think it's a really great opportunity for you to gain information as well. And also anyone who's wanting to prevent. Prevention was a heartbeat when this first started in 2020, and it's something that we've had to kind of build to. And so we have more that we're hoping to do in the prevention arena in 2025 and 2026. We've delved into it more towards just this last quarter of this year, but more to come there. And so this is also going to help, again, in an indirect way with that area of what is happening, because when we know what's happening, then we can back up and be like, how do we actually start preventing this? So it's also going to be for you. So please know, yes, this is not exclusive to someone who is a survivor, though we are very, very aware and very attentive to what those needs are.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to just offer, we are going to have a time to answer questions afterwards. So please, whatever platform you're watching on this, add your questions and your thoughts and comments to the chat. We see a couple coming in, which is great. So keep adding those, as we'll get to those at the end for sure. You might just realize, did we talk about the water park?
I was just going to say, we didn't actually talk about the venue. People are good. What, the water park? Why on earth is there a water park? Well, because all this stuff sucks. And so we need to have some fun. That's why. Okay, so this was, you can either thank Anna Kitco or you can blame Anna Kitco. If you don't know who that is, Anna Kitco she's phenomenal. I absolutely adore her, and she is a mentor on our direct services team. She's great. So she lives really close to Sevierville, and so she knew about this location and told me about it, and was like, because she was looking at something for like a different organization that she's a part of. That ended up not happening, but I was like, I love this idea. Thank you so much for this idea. Yes, let's move forward. So the conference center, which is beautiful. It's literally directly connected to the hotel. They're technically separate entities. I don't know how that works. I know I have two separate contracts. So they're like friends, but like not the same thing. So that's why you'll see on the website, if it looks confusing, like it'll talk about the convention center, but then it'll be like attached to Wilderness at the Smokies resort. And that's why, like, they're friends, but they're not actually like the same entity, but they're literally attached by a breezeway, like an overhead. So like if it's raining, you don't get wet. Like they're really connected. And so that's why if you like need to go take a nap, or you want to run back to your room, or you want to miss something, or you want, like, you're going to have a lot of really great flexibility to do that. The resort element, which, side note, you do not have to stay at. I want to mention that right up front. Like, you don't have to stay there. You could stay with a friend if you live nearby, if you want to get a different hotel, if you want to get an Airbnb with you, like whatever you want to do, you can do that. So you don't have to stay there to attend the conference. It's just a convenience for those who would like to. It gives it more of a like all-inclusive, although it's not all-inclusive, kind of, but like everything's just like right there if you want to approach it that way. So the hotel is connected, and the hotel last year, it would have been last year, they did a $40 million renovation on their indoor water park. So they also have a couple outdoor like major water park situations. Those will be closed because we're mid-September in the Smokies. But the indoor one is open, and they did this like super cool. I'm so bad with like tech stuff, Natasha. Like there's an image. It's not even on the website. I've got to ask our webmaster to add it to the website because it's really cool. It's coming out on a social media graphic soon because I went and like clipped it and was like, please put this out there because it looks so fun. But it's like this total like psychedelic kind of like tech situation, like laser. I don't know, where you go like when you're on the lazy river and you go under this tunnel, and it's like all lit up with these cool lights and these, it's like awesome. It looks so fun. So it has this indoor water park. Each room, if you do decide to stay on property, each room does sleep up to 4 people. And because of that, it comes with 4 tickets to the water park for each day of your stay. So that's also why it's nice if you do have kids, or if you've got grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever, or just you and your friends, and you want to go let out some anxiety maybe you felt during the day by going down a water slide. I mean, or go chill out on the lazy river, you can do that. It's also not the only thing. There are a ton of amenities. So they have, what is it, mini golf, bowling. They have so much stuff. They have like a paint thing, like an arts and crafts this situation. They have 13 different food/drink options. So they've got like sit down dining, they've got like quick dining, they have froyo, they have your coffee shop. So there's just a lot there that you can do if you want to. So, and again, you're also right next to the entrance to the Smokies National Park. So if you want to hop in there, do some leaf peeping, if we've hit that, I don't know, we'll see how it goes next year. We might be a little too early. But yeah, just absolutely beautiful. So there's a lot, again, a lot that you can do there. If you want to book a hotel room, so we have a block reserved right now, and it is discounted. So all of that information is on the website. It's got the number for you to call. It has what you have to say that you're a part of. And we went on a more conservative number for how many rooms to book. So if you know that you're coming and you're like, I know I want a room, the sooner you can book it, the better, because we can then expand. If we see like, if by the end of this year, I'm like, oh gosh, we have like 5 rooms left, I can call and I can add more to the block. I do know that the convention center where the conference presentations are held, again, attached to the hotel, they're totally booked out for that weekend. So that means we could definitely run out of rooms. So just want to throw that out there. Of course, no pressure. Do what you need to. Do what you need to for your budget and for your decision-making timeline. I just wanted to throw it out. If you know that you're wanting into, you're like, oh, I could, I just haven't, maybe I would get to it, maybe I wouldn't. If you're able to get to it, that will help inform us if we want to extend that block. And so we would do it before we'd run out. Otherwise, rooms can totally run out. But again, you can stay anywhere and still attend. So it's totally fine. Like, you don't have to be there to join us.
Yeah, the flexibility is key. And I just want to read that someone made a comment here that relates. That's just an encouragement. And I just want to speak to it as well. That they're so impressed with how considerate you all are about little things like rocking chairs and the purple bubbles. It's true, right? We need some space, and then we can choose to be closer to people if we want, but it's helpful to have the space. And I just want to speak to that. If you know Naomi at all, like, she is very much cares about the details. And so this conference is not only coming from expertise and being trauma informed, but things like the amenities and the flexibility to stay on site or not, to scoot closer to someone you like or not. it really comes from a very intentional space of knowing that the details matter. And that's something that you're going to experience in this conference is you're going to see details that have been really thoughtfully designed, and they're designed to care for you and to make a safe space to be able to talk about these hard things. So yeah, there's going to be, it's going to be even better, than I think what we can even describe or what the pictures will say. But is there anything else amenity wise, Naomi, that you want to highlight before we move on to who we're going to get to hear from?
I hope I'm not missing anything. I know there's some things we'll talk about in the FAQs. Everything's ADA accessible. There are rooms that are ADA accessible. So definitely if you would want a room that is, again, I would hop on that sooner rather than later because it's just not a guarantee that they wouldn't sell out, that they wouldn't be booked out. But yes, the venue will be accessible. So no concerns there. We do not currently have an interpreter for anyone who is hard of hearing. I am looking for one. If you are one, if you know of someone who is one, we would absolutely love to be able to offer that. I would love to be put in contact with someone. Currently, that is something that I would love to happen, but we cannot guarantee. We are not going to be doing translation for this one. Yeah, so I just wanted to answer a couple of those things as well. Just like, are we accessible? Like, who's it going to work for? Children are also welcome, with a disclaimer of, with it being a trauma-informed environment, we're desiring for it to be a more peaceful environment. So just depend on the age of your kiddos, the needs of your kiddos. So I would leave that. I would defer that to you as a parent to decide. I would not have my son there because he's incredibly active. And he's not going to sit well for that long. So I would not. But like if he had been 3 months old, I would have absolutely brought him. If he were maybe 3, 4 years older, I would absolutely bring him. But that depends. That's my kiddo. So it's not necessarily an age thing. It's just my child would need to get more energy out and would have a hard time sitting there. So yeah, so I'll throw that out there too. But again, a lot of that's in the FAQs and we can go over some more at the end. So I think that covers it for now in regards to the video. Oh, other than how far it is, Knoxville is going to be your closest airport. I think, is it 40 minutes at 40 miles? I think it's 40 minutes.
45 minutes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So 45 minutes from the airport. I was asked by someone if the hotel offers a shuttle so someone doesn't have to like rent a car and blah, blah. I don't know, but I am going to find out. So in case that comes up, I think that is an excellent question. It would be wonderful if there's a shuttle. I don't know if that's a thing. So yeah, we will check and I can add that to the FAQs section.
Right. Yeah. Yes, we will get to the FAQs and we'll answer any other questions that come in through the chat. And don't forget, if you stay tuned until the end, we will be having a promo code for a discount. So be sure to stay tuned for that. All right, well, let's hear about who we're going to hear from at this conference. Obviously, Naomi, you'll be speaking as well, but there's so many voices that we get to have at this conference that is just really an honor that people are so passionate and willing to be part of this. And you'll get to meet Anna too, who suggested this place. So let's talk about who will be there.
So first, I actually don't know for sure that I'll be presenting. It was sort of an accident maybe that I'm on the website as a presenter. So I'm not positive that I will be. There is a topic that I really want to be covered. And I am trying to find the person whose book I read who I want to do it. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to reach this person. So if not, I may present on this topic myself. But I'm not positive. Like the point of creating this conference was definitely not to put me on the same platform as these incredible presenters. I'll definitely be emceeing it, introducing people, talking with all of you. So we'll see if I end up covering a topic or not. I'll definitely be at the dinner and be sharing a bit there as well for that add-on for Friday night. But these are incredible, just incredible, lovely people who really know their stuff. So some of you who follow along in different areas may recognize some of these names. They also may be brand new to some of you. You might be, you might be like, I have no idea who these people are. I think everyone, I'm double checking, I'm like scrolling. Everyone has been on the Be Emboldened podcast. So if you are following along with us and you want to hear a conversation that we had with these individuals, you could do a search for their name on our channel. I don't know where you're watching this from right now, but on our YouTube channel, you'd be able to find that, or wherever you listen to your podcast. So that could be a starting point to maybe familiarize yourself with who they are. But the reason I even asked each of them to be on the podcast is because, well, three reasons. I have three reasons. I was like, one, two, nope, there's three. One, they really care about this, and that matters to me. Not everybody does. And that's just the truth of it. And I'm just, not everybody gets it. Not everybody is, out in the world today. Obviously, if they did, it wouldn't be happening. We have a whole variety of situations going on out there, but we have a lot of people, and it is a growing number of really, really incredible people who really care about this issue. And they're wanting to support, and they're also wanting to prevent. And everyone on this list fits that criteria. Second, they really know their area. So they really care about this area of spiritual abuse. They also really know about their area. So they are incredibly well informed and well educated and have been doing this for a while, whatever this is for them, whatever their area of expertise is. And that really matters to me, because I want to introduce you all to people who have really put in the time, really put in the work, and have been thorough. I think that's super important. It's really mattered for my journey, and I want to offer that as well to you. So they all meet that criteria as well. And then thirdly, as far as I could possibly humanly know, because I do not live in the households of any of these people, they are high character people. They are quality individuals. I have interacted with them all on numerous occasions, and know other people who have interacted with them a ton. I have heard really good things. I've experienced really good things. And so, as far as I can possibly know, I think they are of integrity and genuinely love the Lord and love people and desire to companion alongside all of us. So those are the three markers that each one hits. With that, I will go through and I'll just mention their names. So we have, and I don't, these aren't in any sort of order. It's just how they landed on the website. So we have Dr. Paul Coban, and he's going to be talking about, he's going to do 2 presentations for us, which I think speaks to his generosity. He reached out and offered to do that for us, which was so kind, because they did have a second topic that needed to be covered. So it worked out perfectly. And he's going to be talking about reconciling the God of the Old Testament with the God of the New Testament. So the God of the Old Testament can seem very different than the God of the New Testament. What's that about? And so he's going to talk about that for us. He does an excellent job with it, as well as how to read your Bible after it's been weaponized against you. That is a really, really tough thing for many of us. I know that it was for me. Took me at least a decade to move through some of these things to varying degrees. And so I'm really excited about that conversation as well. It's one really close to my heart. And then Mary Jo Sharp, she's actually on our advisory board, which means that I can call and bug her if I need to and get her thoughts on something. And she's incredible. And she is also, part of what I love about her is that she's very honest. She has a quote from her book that I absolutely love about horrendous jerks in the church. And so, well said. It talks about how they're not all, but there are some. And so I very much appreciate, again, her honesty, but also her desire and her love to figure that out. Like, what does that look like? How can we do that then in a way that is healthy, that is safe, and that is not toxic? So she's going to be talking about orthodoxy, orthopraxy, and orthopathy. You've likely heard of one, maybe you've heard of two. Typically, we haven't heard of all three, and all three are incredibly important. So she's going to bring that conversation to us. Holly Pivik and Doug Geivett. So these two oftentimes work as a pair. They have co-authored multiple books at this point. They are, I would say, most known for the work they're doing in regards to the New Apostolic Reformation. And so that's going to be, that's not exactly the same as being hyper charismatic. There's an overlap there, but they're not necessarily identical. But they talk in general for this conversation, for our event here. They're not going to talk specifically about the New Apostolic Reformation. I've asked if they would talk about the work of the Holy Spirit. So disentangling truth from lies. So they're going to do a part 1 and a part 2 of that, because that gets real messy, y'all. Whoo, lots of dreams happening, lots of visions happening, lots of words being given, lots of all kinds of stuff. And it's like, how on earth, does God speak? How does he speak? How do I know if it was him or if it was me or it was something else? Or what do I do with this? And that gets really tangled up and really messy. So we're going to have that conversation in a part 1 and a part 2. Then TC Cannon, who is, oh, I adore TC Cannon. So she's on Be Emboldened's board of directors. She is also on our direct services team. She is very open about her experience of spiritual abuse at a church that she was at for almost 3 decades. She's going to talk to us about how to safeguard against revictimization. Of course, when we're talking about safeguarding against revictimization, we're also talking about safeguarding against victimization. But because she's a survivor, she's going to speak the example she's going to share is going to be more so from that avoiding revictimization. And that is not to say that the abuse is not the fault of the abuser. It is, and it always is. Simultaneously, there are things that we can learn that can help to safeguard us in the future. And that's something I'm really grateful for. And then Elisa Childers is going to join us, and she's going to be talking based on a book that she put out a while back called Live Your Truth and Other Lies. And the reason this conversation is so important, it goes along with safeguarding ourselves. Because what can happen, and I know I experienced some of this, is if we come from an environment where it was higher control, we can leave and we can then just end up following like the new louder voice versus really figuring out like, who am I? What do I believe? What do I think? What questions do I have? And really being able to like slow down and disentangle and figure that out and rebuild. And so during that time frame where we're trying to like navigate all of this, it can be a higher risk time for us to just land somewhere else because it's really loud and a lot of people seem to be into it. And it sounds good. And so pointing out some of those potential pitfalls so that you're able to catch them and critically think and genuinely make a decision. Maybe you decide that you'd agree, maybe you decide you disagree, but for you to be able to slow down and genuinely consider that. So she's going to talk about that issue for us. And then lastly, Anna Kitko is going to be talking about Jesus and mental health. So the two do go together, just like science and Christianity go together. And that may in and of itself be like, wait, what? What is she saying? I was definitely taught that they do not go together. They do go together. Jesus and mental health go together. And so Anna Kitko is going to talk to us about that topic.
Oh, so exciting. Yeah, I just love your criteria for all of these folks. And the one that is just really unique is getting to integrate their disciplines and their expertise with this topic. And someone put in the chat, the theological religious questions had me unsettled in deeper ways that even gaining psychological knowledge did not resolve. And that's, I think, just hits on the point of like, this is complex, and we need to come at it from different multiple angles where those intersections happen to address the holistic needs that people have for healing and understanding and finding freedom. So that's why this conference is about living out freedom, is how do we actually do that when we have all these complex competing issues and things that don't seem to make sense, and yet they do. And we're attempting to put those together and really integrate those. So really excited to see the intersection between these experts and their expertise and this topic of spiritual abuse.
Yeah, that title, Living Out Freedom, like it sounds so nice, but like, how do you actually do that? And so this is where we're really wanting to put like roots to it. Like there are ways to do it. And we're wanting to, again, companion alongside and help equip to be able to. It's not just like a fluffy title because it sounds empowering and it sounds good. It's like, no, this is, how do we actually do this? Because I really want to actually do it. And I need some like solid stuff to be able to.
Yep, that's good. Wow, well, we're going to get into some Q&A here. And after the Q&A, we are going to share that promo code for a $30 off. So stay tuned for that. The BE Plus subscribers will also get a special discount too. So we'll give you information on exactly how to access those discounts and get you with that information. So let's start with some of the questions that we got in the chat. I love this one. And so someone said, hey, I just started following you, interested in what your work is focused on in the church and life of believers. So first of all, welcome. Glad to have you here. So glad you've been following along. And I think that would be a great way to start, especially since this conference is not just for survivors, but it's also for church leaders and parachurch leaders. And so, Naomi, I'd love for you to answer that question of just giving a brief summary of like what our focus is what the focus of our work is, specifically related to the church and the life of believers, and how this conference can help build that up.
Sure. So Be Emboldened focuses on the context of spiritual abuse And we come from a Christian perspective, we come from a Christian worldview, but we do not exclusively come alongside people who would say that they're Christian. They may flat out say that they're not. They may say that they're a secular humanist. They may be wondering, they might be unsure. We've had people say that they're not Christian and come to find out they actually are, because they thought they weren't Christian because they weren't doing these 10 things that they don't actually have to do. And so we come alongside people like wherever they're at in that. And it's really just to show up where they're at and assist them in where they're heading, in regards to healing, in regards to rebuilding, in regards to disentangling and figuring out like, okay, what's true and what's not true? Like what was there anything from that experience that was correct? How do I engage with faith again if I desire to? How do I trust myself? Is God trustworthy? How do I trust anybody else? I mean, there's so much that goes into this, because when we're talking about spiritual abuse, we're talking about we're talking about worldview. And that means we're talking about the lens through which we view everything. And when that gets messed with, it throws off everything and it touches every aspect of our lives. And so the conversations that we have, like, I mean, they stretch far and wide, but it's all connected to that hub of spiritual abuse, again, coming from that Christian worldview. And so when it comes to like actually supporting the church, we love to support the church, because not only from the prevention side, which of course is important, we desire to come alongside young adult groups and high schoolers who are heading off to college and are at a higher risk of being recruited into problematic situations. We also desire to help leadership understand that people like me walk into your doors, because I did that back in 2013. And what do you do with people like me when that happens? Like, how do you love people like me well? How do you support well? Where do you refer out? Because you can't do it all. And so what parachurch organizations, what nonprofits can you reach out to where you can help get people the support that they need, or they're experts in that area? They've specialized in that area. And we desire to be that for the church. And within the context of spiritual abuse, as well as to come alongside congregations who have been harmed. So we just did a workshop a couple of months ago that was incredible, and got to sit down with a room of people and some people on live stream as well, and have different conversations about what this looks like, and how do we heal and how do we rebuild. And it was a really incredible opportunity. So we love to bring things like that to the local body as well.
Yeah, that was really special to see a church that saw the value of this and wanted to address things in the past and currently going forward, and give that to their congregation. So that workshop was definitely really special to be part of that church's journey and providing that support. We really care about the church. This is a really practical question, and I love it because I don't think it's on our FAQ. Are there options for payment plans?
So that is not something that we have on the website. If there is a need for a payment plan, what you can do is you can reach out and email us, hello@beingbolden.com. You won't actually get me, you'll get Stephanie, who is lovely and would be happy to help you. And we can set it up. So we can do it through our invoicing system. So yes, if a payment plan would be helpful, that is something that we can do. And I can chat too with our webmaster about getting that on the site as an option for people going forward. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah, great question. Are there group discounts?
There are. For 12 or more, everyone would get $30 off per ticket. So not in total, but each person would get $30 off. So a total of $360 in savings. So yeah, if you're 12, you could be more than 12. So yes, for that as well, you would send us an email, same email, hello@beingbolden.com, and let us know that you have the group of 12 or more, and we would invoice directly.
Excellent. And that email's in the chat if you need to check it out. Great. Can people pay by cash or in check?
Check is totally fine. We're unable to accept cash. And a part of this, everyone, is because we're at like a real, like a venue that does conferences and stuff. Sometimes things like this are held at a church. As you might imagine, there's reasons why we're not holding this at a church. And so we have some different guidelines for what we have to do. And one of them is we do have to give a final head count 30 days in advance. So ticket sales will really close 30 days beforehand. There aren't going to be exceptions. So because we have to give them that final head count. So with that, someone wouldn't be able to pay in person. I, of course, don't recommend sending cash through through the mail. So for that reason, it's like we just wouldn't be able to accept cash because you can't show up at the door and give us cash. It's cut off 30 days beforehand. So that's why we can't do cash. You can absolutely mail in a check. We've got our PO box on the website. We've got it all over the, on the footer. We've got it on the conference page. So you definitely could send us that. The only thing that I would note is that it's going to go based on when we receive it. So you would want to send it in advance of when the ticket prices go up. So for example, this first price point lasts to December 31st. So on January 1, it is going to go up. So I would send it before December 31st. If you're wanting that early bird pricing, I would send it like the 15th. So just keep that in mind. Because the price will go up on January 1st. And then again, I don't have the dates in front of me, but it does jump a third and final time. So I would just keep that in mind on July 1st. Okay. So yeah, that second middle price point lasts longer than we've got like our last call at the end.
Right. Yes, that's right. So definitely to get the best pricing, you'll want to book before December 31st of this year. And the general admission is $159. And then to add on the evening with BE with the Johnsons is $244. So that's going to be the best price you can get for the early bird pricing before those jump up on January 1st. And then again on July 1st. And then because of the 30 days, we won't be able to offer tickets at the door. So you'll have to book in advance.
Well, and best pricing, not including the $30 off discount code.
That's true.
And if you're a BE Plus subscriber, so if you're unfamiliar with that, definitely check it out. Or if you're someone who's been like, oh, I've been wondering about the BE Plus, it'd be a great time to try it for a month or two because it is a month-to-month thing. So you can cancel at any time. Like it's not a commitment other than that 30-day commitment. But BE Plus is our month-to-month subscriber program. And that gives you discounts to different things. It gives you access to a blog that the wonderful Lindsay Mendenwall, who's an apologist and author, writes for us every month on a related topic. It also gives you access to virtual gatherings that myself and my husband, Michael, co-host one. Anna host periodically. She's going to be starting with One Solid in January. So she'll be doing one monthly starting in January. And then TC Cannon also hosts one. And we're going to add to those as the program grows. It's an incredible program. Like people are showing up. We're having great conversation. And it's a safe environment because you have a professional there to facilitate. And we've got like an ethics code. And it's just, but they're lovely people. I've not had to engage the ethics code. Like there's been zero concern. So it's a really, really great opportunity to be able to connect and even kind of sit back and just listen. If you don't want to engage so much, there's no pressure, like you're not being called out to share anything like that. So if you have questions about that, please feel free to reach out. But if you are a BE Plus subscriber, which you can go ahead and subscribe when you check out and get the discount, and it's 10% off. So it basically pays for your first month. Again, if you're wanting to give it a try. So that 10% off, that will be through the whole registration period. So even if you're in last call, you will get the 10% off if you're a BE Plus subscriber. The $30 discount code is going to go away on December 31st. So you would want to jump on that now if you're wanting that additional 30. They do stack. So if you're a BE Plus subscriber, you have to be logged in. That 10% is automatically going to come off, and then you input your $30 off code. So they do both stack. So it ends up being a really good deal.
Right. So to summarize, the best prices will be available to BE Plus subscribers before December 31st with that discount code that we're going to give you at the end of this live stream. I would love to hear from you, Naomi. We've talked about the special details and the intentionality that this conference is coming across. You've mentioned worship music, prayer. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, is this a Christian conference? Will there be corporate prayer? Will there be worship music?
Yeah, this is a great question to land us on. So I'm glad that we're going to cover this before we wrap up. We're not. Well, to be honest, I didn't have to think about it very long. And there's a reason for it. I know what this can look like for people. I know what a barrier it can be. I know how hard it can be. And so I'm wanting to remove that barrier. So again, while Being Boldened is a Christian organization, like we understand the reality of that ongoing impact from this form of abuse. And that can include a strong physiological response to spiritual practices like corporate prayer. So for this reason, our team's going to remain internally prayerful throughout the event, but we are not going to engage in taking communion, in corporate prayer. We're not going to have worship music. We will most likely have music playing between conference sessions, but it's going to be something like an instrumental genre, to remain as neutral as possible. And so we're just not going to engage in those practices again, because I don't want people to feel like they have to step outside. I don't want anyone having like low grade anxiety, wondering if it's coming, when it's coming, or knowing it's about to happen and wanting to get outside before it happens. I recognize what incredibly strong triggers those can be that are just like wired into us. And while we may desire for them to go away and be working towards that, it's going to take time. So I'm wanting to remove those barriers. If someone comes though and they are wanting prayer, they can come up to anyone who's a part of our team. We'd be happy to pray with someone. So it's not like that is removed as an opportunity. If it's something that you would would be happy to. But again, like on a grander scale, we're desiring not to. And I know that other conferences have decided otherwise, and I get why they would do that. Just with what I've experienced with our audience and what I've experienced myself, I think that this is the best choice for us for this particular event.
Great. Thank you so much, Naomi. Well, please, thank you so much all for adding questions and comments in the chat. If you have more questions, please reach out at hello@beemboldened.com. Please, let's throw that discount code up there. Finally, thank you for hanging out with us so much, but you'll get $30 off with this discount code when you check out. And again, if you're a BE Plus subscriber, make sure you sign up for that subscription and then remain logged in so that you can check out, get that 10% off, and then also get $30 off with 30 off BELOFC and conference to get that $30 off.
I don't know who Celtic Dawn Expeditions is, but oh my gosh, that I'm speechless.
We just had a chat
We may
pop up. I don't think anyone else can see it.
yeah, someone had just written like, yeah, it sounds like the dream conference. Naomi's a legend. I will politely, respectfully agree to disagree with you, but it's incredibly kind, and thank you so much. And with that, if anyone is thinking, hey, this could be a really cool idea, again, we're doing this for the first time, please send us an email. We may or may not be able to do it, but I would love to hear any ideas. So if there's something where you're like, ooh, this could really be great, would love to hear about it.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We're excited about this conference and hope you are too. We hope to see all there.